Alright everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to Friday's video. The good news is today we've got some transfer stuff to talk about. The bad news is that rather predictably it's about players leaving rather than coming in. Yeah. So a nice wee 6-4 first set victory over Queen's Park on Wednesday night. I won't go into the game too much, mainly because I've not actually watched all of it. Been all over the place with sleeping, jet lag, etc. But that doesn't really matter. Sounds like there was some positives in the performance. Kyogo scoring a hat-trick. That's 4 he's got already in pre-season. He's obviously started pre-season off really well, and that augurs well going forward. Matt O'Reilly was back. He netted a goal as well. We had youngster Francis Turley, a name that I've not actually heard before or hadn't heard before Wednesday. He scored and was talked up by Brendan Rodgers afterwards, so that was all good. It sounds like Odin Thiago Home had a pretty good game. Probably some performances there as well that we weren't as happy about. Defensively, mainly. I know Scott Bain, Stephen Welsh are getting a little bit of criticism, and clearly conceding 4 goals against Queen's Park isn't ideal. Brendan Rodgers, I think, was happy with bits of it and unhappy with bits of it. So that was basically Wednesday night. I think generally it's been a solid enough start to pre-season. We've got a couple of games under our belt. There's been an opportunity for fans, Celtic fans, to go out and see the team in Scotland, which we've not had kind of early on in pre-season for a number of years. And now we just move on. We're kind of going to go through the gears. We're going to have more players joining up, international players, etc. And we're going to get tougher tests as we go on. We go off to the States, United States, on Tuesday, I believe we fly out, and we face DC United, Manchester City and Chelsea out there. So they're going to be proper matches. But I think it's been a decent enough start to pre-season. I guess it's kind of, the matches are kind of on the back burner a little bit at the moment. And I think the big question people have got and have had for a number of weeks now is, where are the signings, Celtic? As I say, we are literally flying away to the USA in a matter of days. And I think that it was kind of hoped that we would have a number of signings in at this stage to be on that flight. And I think it seems unlikely. If we talk like goalkeeper, Paulo Bernardo, Adam Ida, I'd say it's extremely unlikely that we're going to have all 3 on the plane going over to the States. Maybe you get one of them. I'd say it's unlikely you get 2 of them. And it's not really good enough. I think it's a bit... it's pretty unacceptable. I would say that a goalkeeper hasn't been signed yet. I think we all feel that way. We've had long enough. And we all wanted a goalkeeper in as soon as possible, and it's not happened. And I think when you look at the past couple of windows as well, and the fact that it just took so long for us to do our business, and then when we actually did our business at the end of the window, it wasn't very good anyway. It doesn't seem like things have changed too much this summer. It seems very much like a repeat of last summer in January. And it's fair to say that there is a fair bit of frustration. As I touched on the other day, you only have to go on any tweet posted by the club and the replies are just all about, where are the signings, where is a goalkeeper, etc. It's dragging on a lot, to be honest. Having said that, Brendan Rodgers doesn't seem too panicked by the whole situation. You could argue that he's always going to kind of seem relatively calm with these things. Now, speaking after the win against Queen's Park, he said, "We're a club that needs to improve the squad. I mentioned before about getting at least a couple in before we go to America. That's still the idea. We all know we lost 3 players and they were very important players for us. That alone demonstrates we need to make that right, and we also have to improve." So nothing really there other than Celtic are still working away in the background. As I said at the start, there's been a bit of chat about 3 players potentially leaving the club over the past 24 hours. The first one is Matt O'Reilly, Europa League winners Atalanta, keen to sign him this summer. They have reportedly bid around £16 million, but that was instantly dismissed by us. Southampton said to be in for him as well. They are said to be able to go to around £20 million for O'Reilly, but Celtic want a record fee for him, similar to the ones we got, I think around 25 million for Kieran Tierney in 2019 and Jota last summer. Atletico Madrid also said to be keen on O'Reilly. A few other clubs have been mentioned as well. I think we're kind of in the same situation with Matt O'Reilly. I still expect him to move on this summer, but I think Celtic hold all of the cards. He doesn't strike me, I mean, he's clearly ambitious, Matt O'Reilly, and he'll want to play in a more competitive and more high profile league than the Scottish Premiership, but he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to rock the boat at all. I think if he has another season at Celtic, he will give his all and push himself, and as I say, I think Celtic hold all the cards here. I think he only goes if we get the fee that we want, and I really hope the club are pushing for near £30 million, because I think O'Reilly should be the one to take us up to that kind of next mark. If we got 25 million for him, I think that would be good business as well, given what we paid for him 2.5 years ago. But we're under no pressure to sell here. It's up to the buying club to pay the fee that we want for him. As I say, I think that will probably happen as we move on. I know there's a bit of chat about Atletico Madrid. I think Saul Niguez is potentially leaving them to go to Sevilla, so they may then look for a replacement in someone like Matt O'Reilly, who they've already bid for. I think it was a loan with an option to buy bid that they did in January that was rejected by us. So they would clearly have the spending power. I'm not sure Atalanta or Southampton would, which is kind of a weird thing to say. I know Southampton have the riches of the Premier League. Doesn't seem like they'd be kind of willing or able to kind of pay that near £30 million for Matt O'Reilly. I'd need to double check. I'm not sure Atalanta really pay that amount either. So, we may be looking at someone like Atletico Madrid, but I'm kind of happy just for this one to play out. I'd love to have O'Reilly for another season. I don't think his transfer fee would be any less next season, because I think he'd do it again in the Champions League for us. So that's how I hope it plays out. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. Equally, if he goes for a club record, close to 30 million, then it's kind of fair enough as well. Chat about Reo Hatate as well. Now, it's been pretty quiet with regards to him potentially leaving over the past 12 months. Obviously, it was far from a vintage season from Hatate last season. He had injury issues. It was injury issues mainly, but I think even, when he played at the end of the season, it's fair to say he wasn't the top Reo Hatate that we'd seen in the previous kind of 18 months. Yesterday it emerged via the Daily Mail that we were approached earlier in the week by an unnamed Russian Premier League club about Hatate, but we rejected the approach before a fee was even discussed. It's understood that we were unwilling to deal with Russian clubs given Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So I think that's absolutely fair enough. To be honest, I've kind of I wasn't even aware that Russian football was still going on. Obviously they don't have the link to UEFA competition at the moment. That's been cut off, rightly so. So I kind of wasn't even sure that the Russian Premier League was even a thing at the moment. I don't think it would have been that enticing a move for someone like Reo Hatate at the moment, but they clearly have some sort of money. But I think it's fair enough. I think regardless of who was approaching for Reo Hatate, we can't allow him and Matt O'Reilly to leave in the one summer. And to be fair, that was written in the Daily Mail's report. And it seems like if O'Reilly is to go this summer, then Hatate will be staying for at least another season. So that's a little bit of a non-story, to be honest, but it's kind of interesting to know anyway. There's been a fair bit of chat about youngster Daniel Kelly too over the past 48 hours. Now, as you may know, he's out of contract at the end of 2024, so the end of the calendar year. And there has been speculation for a number of months, but it was reignited, I think, on Wednesday after this tweet from Fabrizio Romano. Now, Kelly has been a notable absentee from our first two pre-season matches, and Brendan Rodgers has now confirmed that his contract situation is the reason he hasn't featured in those games. Again, speaking on Wednesday, he said, Daniel, as a young player, has been offered a really good contract by the club. It's a contract that would see him come into the first team squad and play and perform and develop, because he has a lot of development to do. I spoke with the agents and the player some months back to say, listen, if we can't tidy this up by the summer, then it's very hard to be with the team in pre-season. It's as simple as that. I back Brendan Rodgers' stance on this 100%. It's completely up to Daniel Kelly what he does with his future. If he signs another deal at Celtic, if he moves on to another club, it's his career, it's his decision. But I back Brendan Rodgers and Celtic's stance on this at the moment. If he is unwilling to commit to Celtic right now, then I don't think he should be part of our plans for the new season, because he can, as I understand it, chat to other clubs at the moment. So it doesn't seem right to me that he would be part of pre-season and also be able to chat to other clubs. Because imagine like he started to play and had a really good pre-season and had a really good start to the competitive season and became a big player for us, and then just left us for nothing. I mean, that would be incredibly disappointing. And it seems very much like that's Celtic's policy at the moment with young players. If they're not willing to commit to the club, then they don't get the chance basically to play. It was the same with Rocco Vata. Brendan Rodgers also revealed after the game on Wednesday that Vata was offered a good deal and would have been one of three strikers at the club, but he decided that it wasn't for him. Very important to note that Rodgers isn't bitter about this at all. He said, we wish Rocco Vata all the best, but that is the Celtic stance at the moment. I think as in terms of Daniel Kelly, I really hope this situation is sorted out positively and he agrees to a new deal at Celtic, because I think he's got real potential. And I think Brendan Rodgers thinks quite highly of him. And I just think, we know from what Brendan Rodgers has said there that Celtic have offered him a deal and want to give him a chance to perform at first team level and develop as a player. And I feel like that's what he needs in his career at the moment. I understand with these kind of youth players potentially leaving the club, and obviously your mind goes back to people like Ben Doak, and he's a kind of high profile one in recent years, and you never really know exactly what's going on. And I realise that it's a tough one for the club as well, because you can't go and guarantee someone like Daniel Kelly minutes. I think the best you can do is guarantee him the opportunity to go and impress, and if he does well, you'll get that chance to play for the club. But maybe sometimes for these youngsters, they see their future elsewhere, and there's been so many recent examples of Scottish players going overseas and doing quite well. I mean, Italy mainly, but even you look at the number of players we've lost to Germany and down south as well. And even if they don't necessarily make it at these clubs, then they still have a pretty good kind of football education and can move on at that stage. So maybe Kelly just fancies leaving Celtic and sees an opportunity elsewhere. As I say, I would hope this would be sorted out, because I think he's got potential and I think that Brendan Rodgers likes him. I must admit though, when things get to the stage of him being left out of pre-season, you kind of worry, are they past the point of something being sorted out? So that's Daniel Kelly. Plenty going on at the club at the moment. As I say, it is mainly all about players leaving, which is pretty frustrating. If we end up selling someone like Matt O'Reilly before like a goalkeeper is signed, I don't even want to think about what the reaction will be like from Celtic fans. So let's hope that doesn't happen. A nice wee story to finish though, just to finish on a positive. Some Celtic fans were in Lisbon yesterday at the Estadio Nacional, where the Lisbon Lions triumphed against Inter Milan in the European Cup final 1967. And they bumped into Jota in the heat of Lisbon. Apparently, he drove past and saw the guys and shouted Celtic out the window, then jumped out. That was according to the guy there who put the photos. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. I believe he was asked about potentially coming back to the club, and he said, yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I love Celtic. So, yeah, I miss Jota a fair bit. I'd love to see him back one day. To be honest, I'd just like to see any signing in at the moment. Right, that's us for today, everyone. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll get properly back into things from Monday.